Good evening. I call to order the Westlake City Schools regular board meeting for Monday, May 19th, 2025. Roll call.
Kraft,
Here.
Fanukin,
Here.
Lamb,
Here.
Lizinski.
Here.
Mrs. Piernot is not with us this evening. She is absent due to a work obligation.
And if you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
We gather tonight, we remember our mission. We educate for excellence, empowering all students to achieve their educational goals, to direct their lives, and to contribute to society. And also our vision. The Westlake City School District will provide a dynamic, student-centered learning environment. Our district will be characterized by high achievement, actively engaged learners, mutual respect, shared knowledge, pursuit of new skills and capabilities, collaborative learning, willingness to take action, a team commitment to data-driven continuous improvement for a strategic planning process, and tangible results. It is wonderful to see everyone here tonight. We have a lot to celebrate tonight, so thank you for being here. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call?
Lizinski,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Super. We're going to move right into recognitions and informative reports. And Dr. Goggin, may I turn that over to you?
Thank you. Prior to this board meeting, we did meet in our Hilliard Gymnasium to recognize our class of 2025 retirees. It was just a lovely time. And as I mentioned inside the gym when we were talking, it's a time for friends and colleagues and administrators and staff members to recognize each other and be able to say some kind words. I phrase it as class in 2025 because later in this agenda, we're also going to approve our graduating class of 2025 with our students. This is a different kind of rite of passage, but not less significant. The people we're recognizing today have spent years, most even decades, serving students and our families. Our school and entire committee owe them our appreciation and well wishes. As we switch to this part of this evening, we did spend some time together earlier with our retirees, but this is also an opportunity for us to recognize them live on YouTube to our communities, and also for the board to make comments if they choose. We're not going to go through each of the speeches again. All right, we're just going to recognize who you are and what you've done. You don't even have to get up. We'll do that. After we recognize you, we are going to then recognize our excellence in certified employee and also classified employees as well. So if you could stick around for that, that would be great. And then when we conclude those recognitions, please feel free to go and enjoy a beautiful evening, go out to dinner, celebrate with each other, unless you would like to stay for the library tax hearing. So I know which I would choose. So that is up to you. Our retirees who could not be here this evening, Tracy Cox, Westlake Elementary School teacher assistant for 20 years, Carol, Westlake High School cook for 30 years, Paul Brusk in our maintenance department for 8 years, Kathleen Kelly, who was a bus driver for 30 years, Dan Burkheimer, Lee Burnison Middle School science teacher, 39 years, Nancy Kendall, Project Link, 17 years, Dennis Moan, 16 years as an LBMS cleaner, Kristen Regas, LBMS art teacher for 30 years, and Sandy C., Westlake Elementary School special ed assistant for 12 years. If we can recognize them, please. The people who we did have with us, I think all are back in the room, but who was with us over in the gym. Kathy Petrowski, who worked in Dover Intermediate School as a fifth grade teacher for 31 years. Sandy Sopko, also in Dover Intermediate School, also in fifth grade for 23 years. Tracy Sidlowski at Westlake High School math teacher for 32 years. Dave Titterington, Westlake High School social studies, 30 years. Sandy Kodish, bus driver for 35 years. And Dave Kosovar, business manager for 13 years. Thank you for your service. Is there anything the board would like to share?
It was a lot of fun being in the other room, hearing some of those stories. We've had the opportunity to get to know you over the years. And, when I think about as we go through our strategic planning, as our quality profile is distributed throughout the community, as the community reaches out to us, many times they say, hey, what's your secret sauce? What is the thing that makes Westlake? Why are you so good? And it's you. It's all of you. Think of the lives that you've changed. Think of how you've changed the world. It's amazing to see the incredible work that you do. We say thank you. Thank you for all that you've done. God bless you and Godspeed to you. Thanks for all that you do.
Yes, and I too enjoyed hearing the backstories, and especially ones that had been in banking for years and other professions, and then you choose education, because sometimes when you're teaching, you think, "Oh, did I choose the right one, or maybe I should be doing something else?" So it was very hard to hear, that you gave up another profession to come into education, and all of the wonderful things that you do for the students here in Westlake. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I missed the reception, and I'm sure there was some food there, and I would really enjoy that. You all had a big impact on the students from the time you got here to the time you left. You helped create the foundation for a lot of these students, no matter what they're going to do once they graduate. Coming from me, and I know that a couple of you in the room here had either one or a couple of my children that came through the district. As I proudly wear it today, my two boys, who are the last two, just graduated yesterday from college, and our daughter graduated a year ago. So obviously they had the prep, the foundation, and everything they needed to be successful coming through the Westlake School District. And that's one of the reasons why I came on the board, to make sure that we can continue to have that and have the right people doing the right thing, so that the families continue to have faith in the schools and faith in the school district. Because at the end of the day, it's you who are helping the families move their kids forward. So thank you.
Well, as the youngest member of the school board, or not the youngest, but the most recent elected, unfortunately, everybody says everything good, so I kind of like, yep. All I can say is I echo everything else that Barb and the rest have said this evening, and I want to extend my thank you also, as my kids are going through Westlake City Schools, and you are having such a profound effect on kids' lives, and it's amazing. I'm a little disappointed that Mr. Berkheimer isn't here this evening. He was actually a teacher back when I went through Westlake schools. He was a football coach.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were that young.
Well, it's the gray hair. But thank you very much again for everything that you've done and you continue to do. And the institutional knowledge, unfortunately, that's leaving with you, I don't know how we're going to make up, but thank you for everything.
Again, congratulations.
Ready for me to move on?
I am.
Okay, thank you. What we started doing a few years ago is coupling our retirement evening with our celebration of excellence. We kind of felt that it connected, and it really was something, as people were entering in that next chapter, we're also at the same time able to celebrate some other staff members as well. So I am going to get started with that, and there is a theme this year. And when you look at the two staff members who we are celebrating this evening, they both work with students with our most significant disabilities and significant needs. Kind of going through this, I was able to think about this in overall perspective, and I think about it as a parent. In schools, we are responsible for the most important part of our parents' lives, and that's their children. And you see it in the elementary school, in the preschool, and kindergarten, when you see those kids leaving their parent for the first time, holding on to their leg, crying, and how hard it is for the parent to trust us with their children. Now, think about that if your child has a significant disability. The younger a child is, the more significant a disability, the harder it is to pass your child to another person. And I think about that when I think about recognizing these two people and how special it is to work in the classrooms to be able to provide that need and hopefully gain that trust from our families. So with each of these staff members, I'm going to call off your name, and then I'll ask your principal to join you at the podium. The awkward part, whether you're a retiree or an award winner, is to stand there while people are talking about you. So, but that's part of the deal. So what I'm going to do is I'll call you up. You stand there, your principal or whoever it is going to read for you on your building representative will join you. And while you're getting yourself set, I'll share some of my thoughts. Okay. So starting this evening, we are going to recognize the person selected for excellence in classified service, Zita Goldberg. Can you join us? So working in a resource room for students with high level needs is not a job, it's a life commitment. The people who you work with are not colleagues, but many times they're like family. Parents count on you even more so than in the general classroom to care for their children while striving to help them grow and improve. I was able to read through the nominations of Zita, and some of the things that I pull out, not by quote, but in what they said, it's truly touching. They talk about her patience, empathy, and caring nature. And that's just with the staff. No, I'm kidding. But you'll hear how she displays a personal investment that improves the quality of life for all of those around her. To hear more about Zita, I turn it over to DJ Shaw, Lee Burnison Middle School principal.
Thank you. Zita is 100% worthy of this award, and it's an honor to give her this award tonight. As I think Scott mentioned it, the self-contained classroom that she works in, the lead teacher, Miss Emma McHugh, who's here to support Zita, I was out on maternity leave at the beginning of the year, and we were fortunate enough to get a substitute in that room. However, the substitute, as not many people are trained for that type of work, Zita and some of her coworkers, but Zita in general, took on a huge lead role to make sure that the experience that our students had didn't miss a beat. And of course, we missed Miss McHugh, and we're glad that she's back. But the leadership and hard work and patience and flexibility that Zita showed to make sure that our students had that experience every single day was truly amazing. And I think that our students are going to be better students and better people because of what you did. And I know as the principal of the building and our fellow staff members greatly appreciate your hard work and everything that you did for our students. So again, 1,000% deserving of this award. We are so happy to have Zita in our building. She's an asset to our staff and is fantastic with our students. So
Yeah, like the,
Just that, it is a challenging job, but I love my work. And, when I see a student achieve a milestone, warms my heart.
good. We'll go up. We're gonna present you with this. EJ, you could stay in here too. This is for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations. Yeah, absolutely. Come on, DJ. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So at this time, I would like to call up our recipient of the Excellence in Certified Service, Sue Peplin. Joining Sue at the podium is our Westlake Elementary School principal, Mr. Greg Plantner. So I read through the nominations for Sue as well, and it's interesting for each of these recipients tonight, the volume that people wrote, it's almost like they had to get it all out. You know, they just had to go in and really put down on paper how they feel about them. Here's what stood out to me. So cells and cells, it's in a spreadsheet. So you go through it, and as I was going through, there's a few words that just jumped off. And it was simple. Sue adores all of her students. If you start there, because if you think about it, the first thing that parents want is for you to care about their child. Step one. That's the first thing that parents want. Now, we've seen that both in Zita and Sue. The difference is the role. DJ shared how Zita stepped in when Emma was out and everything she contributes. Then when you switch the role to recognizing a teacher with that, Sue establishes the path or plan on how all of the components of the program align to provide that specialized instruction. That includes identifying the goals and objectives for each student, utilizing academic or formative resources, human resources such as SPED assistants, behavior specialists, related services, etc. It's setting a path or a vision for each of her students and then pulling everything together to help that child grow. That's one of the things that I think is unique in special education, is that coordination of services and being that point person who, for when that parent isn't there, is the voice for that, an advocate for that student. So that's why I think when I watched and I kind of read through with both Zita and Sue, I just saw that theme there, and it was just so exciting to be able to get ready for tonight. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Greg Plant.
Thanks.
Am I too close?
No, you're great. Wherever you're comfortable. As Dr. Goggin mentioned, there are a lot of people that Sue works with on a daily basis, and a lot of them have a lot of great things to say about her. And I'm going to share some of those this evening. If you know Sue, you know that she is a really amazing, positive, professional person in every moment of every day. And I'm really glad that I get to share a lot of the thoughts from the other people who get to experience that with her on a daily basis. So it says, Sue is devoted to her students and she goes above and beyond for her families, often hosting a short conference or email every single day. She understands their worries and wants to assure them their children are in the very best of hands. Many of her students through the years have been medically fragile, so Sue reaches out to families on evenings, weekends, and summers for updates and always asks what she can arrange or do to be helpful. Most students in Sue's class need a teacher with an incredible amount of patience and understanding. Sue never gets upset, smiles and meets each student where they are, and strategizes how to help them move forward. She works with each student to find what motivates them to focus on the world around them in the classroom and to communicate. Once she finds what works for each student, she purchases or acquires whatever is needed without a second thought. She works closely with behavioral specialists and endlessly trials different sensory schedules to best maximize her students' performance. Sue has the unique ability to create an exciting, fun, and nurturing learning environment despite the individually different needs of each of her students. She creates a structured school day to ensure all of her students' needs are addressed, and within all that structure, Sue still manages to be flexible, allowing the students to take breaks when needed or to honor their wish if they're appropriately communicating a desire to choose something different. The calm, accepting environment that Sue creates within her classroom is something to be seen, and I have the honor to see it every day. Her colleagues also shared that Sue is consistently demonstrating care, compassion, and patience with each of her students, and it's amazing to witness the growth of her students within the school year. Sue sets high expectations for each of her students and is always problem solving to help each of her students reach their maximum potential. One thing that stands out is the advice Sue gave us 15 years ago when we first started working together. She told our team when working with any student, we need to remember that we don't get to do things because it's convenient for us, but we do whatever is right for that particular child, convenient or not. That is why Sue has a successful classroom. The students are always the top priority, no matter what. Sue creates a welcoming environment for parents to ask questions, field concerns, or just share about their child. One of Sue's many strengths is creating a positive rapport with parents, walking them through this journey of helping their child with significant special needs. In addition to her great rapport with parents, Sue also creates a very welcoming environment for colleagues that work with her directly. Sue collaborates with her colleagues on a regular basis to share ideas, work on individual behavior strategies, and to support one another through encouragement and or direct intervention. Sue's always available and willing to assist other staff members, especially those who have students that she's had in the past. She's a team player and demonstrates professionalism on a daily basis. And there's more. Yeah. Stand there and endure all of it. These are not my words. These are all the wonderful things everybody else says about you. Sue coordinates with colleagues to arrange opportunities for her students in general education classrooms and always arranges both materials and aid support to make the experience as positive and productive as possible. She's always helpful, kind, and willing to jump in and help another teacher with classroom materials, ideas, or share aid service when possible. She's very approachable. She welcomes any and all ideas from her team. She supports you through your work with students, and she's always appreciative of the work that you do to support her in the classroom. Sue's also cultivated a relationship with colleagues and staff to create a program called Helping Hands. It's a program for older neurotypical students to access training and strategies as they come into her classroom and help with her students. A program that has proven more successful and rewarding than ever anticipated. It helps our general student population learn tolerance, acceptance, and how best to interact with peers who have special needs. And in turn, it helps Sue's students interact with peers that are verbal and social, all within a structured, familiar setting, which they are already comfortable with. The peer-to-peer relationships foster a sense of community, and throughout the year, each student gains independence in their play skills. Just recently, a general education peer stated that he wished that he could work with the peer all day long. Through this program, Sue's making a difference in the classroom and throughout the entire building. Sue's written a number of grants for PTA and through the Westlake Educational Foundation. Last year, her and 4 colleagues submitted a grant to the WEF for sensory tools and equipment for all the moderate to intensive classrooms at the elementary school. The resources obtained through the grant have been a huge asset to students, helping them self-regulate and meeting their sensory needs within their own classroom. And in conclusion, one of the reasons why I love my job, her colleague says, is in large part thanks to Sue and the positivity that she brings to a typical workday. Not only does she share that positivity within our classroom, but throughout the whole school and school system. Sue adores all of her students. She works continuously to help push them to achieve all they can through love, patience, and extremely hard work. She's a very kind, caring, and compassionate human who we are all lucky enough to work beside. Sue is a consummate professional. She treats all staff members with the utmost respect. She values each member of the IEP team and their recommendations for her students. She's an excellent communicator and she establishes trusting relationships with her students. And finally, Westlake City Schools is fortunate to have such a dedicated teacher, and we are proud to nominate her for the Excellence in Certified Service Award.
Say anything, Sue?
Wow, wow. Thank you all. Thank you all for all the kind words. I really appreciate it. And I'm overwhelmed. I really believe that everything that was said about me could be said about my team here, for sure. And the reason this works so well and why I feel so fortunate and blessed is because I have each of you with me. And we have such a great collaboration and supportive network and genuine love and care for each other that makes it work. So thank you. Blessings. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Okay. At this time, please feel free to enjoy your evening. Recipients, I think you have boxes, so you don't scratch up for one.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. You have one, so.
You leaving? You coming back?
Yeah.
So.
See ya.
See ya.
People.
Around. Is this off intentional?
What's that?
Is this off intentional?
I turned it on. I don't know.
Okay.
So
Let's just keep happening.
Moving on in recognitions and informative reports, we're gonna move on to the superintendent's report. Anything, Dr. Goddard?
Whatever we can talk about, we can talk about, probably Mr. Hopkins.
Understood.
Yep.
Mr. Hopkins, we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
To be honest, if it is okay with the board, I would reserve my comments to my section of recommendations. And we
Absolutely.
can discuss further at that time.
Well, tonight we have the good fortune to have Director Andrew Mangles with us from the Porter Public Library. We're going to move on to the Porter Public Library tax budget hearing. Mr. Mangles, thanks for being with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. As I just said to Mr. Lamb, even though it's statutorily required. As I always like to do for those who might be listening in online or in here that aren't aware, Westlake Porter Public Library is a school district library. And that means there are some statutory requirements that the library is responsible to the school board. The school board does appoint our trustees, also approves our tax budget as we are here to do this evening. So our tax budget is a budget that is early in the year, our best guess of what things might look like for 2026. If the school board does in fact approve that tonight, we will submit it to the county budget commission. And it'll be on file. Then later in the year, more towards the end of the year, we will create this is the tax budget, a temporary budget, which will be more realistic because we'll have better projections and forecasts. And then we will pass our permanent budget after the first of the year for the rest of the year. So that is our process. Just a couple of quick notes about 2025, because we're doing a lot of great stuff from our last year's tax budget, or the budget that was approved. There was a number that I heard recently that just made me go, wow, I thought you all might find this lovely as well. As you know, I've been talking for years about our partnership with Westlake Elementary School, the building right next to us, and we put that path in. This number is amazing. In the month of May, we will have 54 visits from the school over to the library. 54 visits. That is amazing. That means there's kids coming over a couple times a day, every day throughout May to tour the library, see what's going on over there. And it's just amazing. Our patrons love seeing the kids come through the library. The partnership has just worked out tremendously, having the school so close to the library. So we're very grateful for that. We have summer reading about to kick off as well. So if you haven't signed up, not too late. You have all summer to sign up. We've got great prizes, and we'll encourage everybody to continue reading throughout the year, but especially during the summer. So as we think about 2026 and our tax budget, it was submitted to you that our, I'll start with the expense side just very easily. We are a service industry, so it's no surprise that 62% of our budget is tied up in personnel issues. We spend about 11%, 12% on materials, which is the other big thing. We are about materials. You come in, we help you find your materials, you find your materials, we get them out. And then we have all of the other mundane things such as the capital and ongoing contracted services stuff. So our budget this year is about $6 million, a little $6.6 million. Most of that revenue is in the form of our local levy. This is important because, as you all well know, the state budget is going on right now, and it is kind of uncertain where libraries are going to fit into that. For quite some time, we have been getting our funds through what's called the Public Library Fund. There is the possibility that that might go away and the libraries could become a line item in the state budget. Libraries aren't in favor of that, but if that happens, we will carry on. There are other challenges in this state budget that could affect the library as well as the schools, as you know. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on that. Come July, we'll have a better sense. One possibility, there's a thing, the library money that is apportioned to all libraries is divided amongst the 88 counties. Once it gets to the county, there's another formula that redistributes it among the number of libraries in that county. There is a proposal that the formula of how the money gets to the counties be changed. If that were to happen and implemented immediately, Porter Library, the impact of Porter Library could be a loss of about $300,000. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. So that'll be one of the key things we'll be paying attention to. When it comes to what we'll be spending our money on in 2026, for us, the big things are the staffing we need to give that excellent service, the money to keep the building in first-rate condition, which I believe we have done, and most importantly, those materials that people want to use and so forth. A challenge for us, budget-wise, is electronic materials versus print materials. We continue to be a library that's known for having, well, I say print, I should say physical materials. We are a library that is known for maintaining that physical collection because people still want it. But we balance that with also providing those e-materials. And there are a lot of people that think Well, because these e-materials should be much cheaper, you should be saving money. E-materials for us are actually more expensive. And without boring you this evening about the economics of e-materials, it is actually more costly for us to purchase those. And as that demand continues to rise, that's actually one of our biggest challenges, is to meet that demand for the e-materials because people do like them. But I still, and I'm one of them, I still have a fondness for those physical materials, and we provide both. So we're excited about this year. We're excited about 2026 coming up. And if you had any further questions about our budget, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Any questions for Director Mingles?
You answered my question about the digital, the ebooks, but I'm surprised the cost doesn't come down somewhat, but that's not the case.
The publishers don't want us to have the materials, and so they make it very difficult for us in every way they can by upcharging, putting limits on what we can have access to and so forth. So even though you would think simultaneous users, because it's electronic, the publishers say, no, just like a book, if you want multiple copies, you have to buy multiple copies. And even though they don't have the like a book on CD is a physical thing that has to be manufactured. An audio book, for example, you wouldn't think would cost as much. They soak us on that as well. So it's problematic.
I think about the relationships that you've created, how Westlake Porter Public Library is always evolving. One of the relationships that you mentioned was the elementary school next door, and I think what a super gift to be right next door. Do you think the students kind of get that as they're rolling through the library?
I think they do. They walk through, they love it.
Awesome.
You see them smiling, walking
Yeah.
through, waving to our librarians. I do. I think
Yeah.
that they like coming over and seeing us.
And I know many in the community have been seeing all of the recent, you talk about the building itself and the changes to, again, have those that frequent the library and those that may not have continue. Can you just review the changes that recently occurred in the library as well?
Yeah, the changes going back the last 2 to 3 years are tremendous, including adding a makerspace, of which a lot of students from Westlake schools are coming over and using. We have 3D printers, a sound booth, a laser engraver, things like that. The technology that students are able to use. We've also opened up the second floor, which is more space for people to spread out and congregate. Our pavilion from just a couple of years ago is a fantastic spot for people. I just had a request to look at doing a nonprofit fair out in that space later this year, which I think will be very beneficial. So those changes have been tremendous for us. We still have maybe a few more things to do. One of the things I'd like to see about doing is creating a local history room specifically to preserve the history of Westlake better than we're doing now. That would be something to look for in the future. And I also like to mention that space is been changed and upgraded. What's so important for us is the partnerships that we have. We made a list the other day of all the partners that we have. We have a list of over 40, and those partnerships, we tend to keep the ones in Westlake. Our service area isn't Rocky River or other places. So just in Westlake alone, we have over 40 organizations that we partner with that are utilizing the library in some fashion or another to forward their aims as well. So those are the kinds of things that are happening over in that building. Along with Rotary, which to sneak in a quick plug, the Westlake Bay Village Rotary Festival, Art Festival, which will be at the end of July. But that came about because of the path that we put in to the school. And we said, well, instead of students just being the only ones to use it, how else can we use that space? And that partnership with the schools has provided an amazing community event that on one day we'll see 2,000 people roll through that art festival, seeing what the school has to offer, the library has to offer, and the community has to offer.
Anything else for Director Mingles?
I don't really have any questions, but I do want to say thank you again for giving me a tour of the library, and I appreciate that. And the questions that I would have had were all answered on that day during that tour. So thank you very much for the services you provide my city.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite things is to give a tour. You got off light because I think we only spent, what, 6 hours? Yeah.
I mean, it felt like 8.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I do love giving tours of the.
No, it was a great tour to see it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, 3B is a resolution to approve the Westlake Porter Public Library 2026 tax budget. Is there a motion
So moved.
to approve?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Lizinski,
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you all very much. And as much as I would like to stay, my wife said she wouldn't mind seeing me tonight. So, yeah. Thank you all very much. Have a lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, we have a hearing of the public. The public may address the board during the periods of the meeting designated for public participation. We, the Board of Education, do not engage in a public debate, especially do not have a public discussion about individual student situations in this setting. Each person addressing the board shall give their name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 3 minutes until the total time allotted is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. Period of public participation may be extended by a vote. Board president voting. Is there anyone that would like to address the board at this time? We've all had an opportunity to see the minutes. Those minutes are from April the 14th of this year and April the 28th of this year. All those in favor of approving minutes say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Minutes are approved. We're going to move on to the treasurer's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll go about this a little bit differently tonight, as I asked to preserve my time for the report during this section. So I'm going to take some time here talking about the 5-year forecast. The 5-year forecast is presented to the board tonight as required by state law. The Board of Education must approve the 5-year forecast twice per year, once no later than the end of November, and once again no later than the end of May of each fiscal year. And that forecast needs to be submitted to the state of Ohio. Typically, or over the past, my tenure here, I've done a presentation to the board for the 5-year forecast. Instead of a presentation, I would like to have a conversation with the board. The 5-year forecast is uploaded. My assumptions are there on board docs. Anybody who's watching on YouTube or here can open it up, look at it. You're welcome to ask me questions here tonight or reach out to me. My contact information is on our website to go over the forecast. But the main reason that I want to change up what I've done historically is because we have a very large challenge in front of us. And Director Mangles spoke to it a little bit about the state budget and the impact on Porter Public Library. Right now, we have a very, very large potential impact facing Westlake City Schools. The legislative process for the state budget is really 3-part. You have the House who passes their version, you have the Senate who passes their version. They go into a conference committee and they come up with a version that both chambers can pass. Once that happens, it goes to the and passed, it goes to the governor for their approval. So we're really only a third of the way into this process, but under the House proposal, and we've talked about this at our meetings in the past here, there is a provision in there that school districts, and only school districts, but school districts would be what I believe penalized to have a cap of 30% carryover. So when we look at our 5-year forecast, and we've talked about building our reserves in order, I often use the example of the cookie jar. We build up the cookie jar so that we can stretch out our use of it, okay? Well, they would limit what that cookie jar would be, and it would be limited to about 30% of your expenditures from the prior fiscal year. There's a lot of unknowns right now. They haven't told us how everything will work. Rumors have it right now that they're going to look at fiscal year 24 information, okay? So that we can't do anything this year to prevent taking a larger hit. And then it would be implemented next year. That's just what they're saying. I don't know if that's how it will play out. There's just those unknowns. So I'm going to speak on a number of assumptions. And please don't take these as gospel truth. These are assumptions that I'm working under as I kind of work through our forecast and the impact of what that would look like.
Because the best that you have to work with is what's been announced, say, by the House.
The best that we have to work with is what's been communicated through the House, through our different organizations, OSBA, OASBO, BASA, we're part of the Alliance for High Quality Education through that group. This is the best that's available to us right now. When we look at that 30% carryover cap, it would essentially, using last year, fiscal year 24 data, we were a little over $60 million in expenditures. So that would put a cap at roughly $18 million. Last year, our cash balance was well over $33 million. So you'd be looking at what I expect about a $15 million loss that would come out of next fiscal year 26. If you look at the forecast for this year, I am looking at deficit spending this year. I try to be upfront with the board. I try to be upfront with our community. I forecast conservatively. But even with taking into consideration that I may not realize all of the expenditures or I may realize higher revenues, I still am nearly positive we will be deficit spending this year. So when we look at a deficit spending this year of even $1 million, when we lose that million, plus we lose the $15 million that the state would not allow us to collect in taxes the following year, that really is down, almost cutting our reserves in half. Okay, going into or ending fiscal year 26. So you'd have 25 here, the loss in the beginning of 26. So really, I won't say ending 26, but in the middle of 26, we would cut our reserves in half. And we know we're going to be deficit spending going forward. Okay. What would that mean to us is this Board of Education has been very thoughtful in how we use our reserves. Mr. House presented to the board here a meeting or two ago with a 5-year facilities plan of our needs that is $10 million underfunded. Okay, we receive about $1.1 million a year in revenue for PI. Mr. House's information shared with us had nearly $15 million of needs that we have over the next 5 years. Some of those can be pushed off, and we've pushed things off as a district over and over again, but others can't. And we're going to need to continue to invest in our facilities. We could have used this $15 million that the state is now pulling away. That's a decision of the Board of Education and we've done it. We've transferred money out of a general fund into PI. The board can make those decisions. This decision is this law would take the decision away from the board and would put that decision, the decision would be made by the legislative body. When we look at the actual impact, not just on our facilities and not for our planning, but what would happen in our forecast piece. When we remove the million plus this year of deficit spending plus the $15 million next year, we would end next fiscal year somewhere around $8 to $10 million. The following year, fiscal year 27, we would be in the negative. It's just at the rate that we're expecting. What would happen if the cap was in place as proposed or as currently passed in the House budget of 30%? I would strongly recommend that the board consider being on the ballot immediately in November or having discussions to make significant cuts. And the only way you're going to do that in this district is by taking opportunities away from students. If we were on the, and the reason I would talk about going on in November is the way levies work. When you pass a levy in November, you're able to collect half of it in that fiscal year. Levies that are passed in May, you do not collect until the following fiscal year, and then you only get half. So when we look at fiscal year 26, which will start July 1st, if we pass in November, and let's say it's a $6 million levy, you could collect half of it for us would be $6 million, okay, in the first fiscal year 26. And then the rest of it, the $12 million in this example, okay, would start being in fiscal year 27. If you don't pass in November or you choose not to be on the ballot in November, okay, you essentially you will push off a full year of collection. So instead of receiving any money in fiscal year 26, you now only get half of it in fiscal year 27, okay, whether you pass in May or November of calendar year 2026. So as we get the money coming in, you'll need access to money quicker, and that will help reduce your millage slightly. And that's why I would be a proponent of being on it in November. The other piece that when we look at it is I keep a levy history. It's part of our assumptions. I think it's one of the last pages on my assumptions that I put on there. And I track the past now 45 years of levy history going back to 1980 for Westlake City Schools. During that 45 years, the district has run 10 levies for new operating money. So over 45 years, 10 levies for new operating. This doesn't count PI or bond issues. And we do have a replacement levy that was run at one point, but I'm looking at new operating levies only. So you had 10 of them were run. You only passed 4 in 45 years. You're at a 40% passage rate. If we go on the ballot in November, I can't with great confidence, based on our history, tell you that we would pass. In fact, based on our history, we have less than a coin flip 50-50 chance. So it would be imperative to try to communicate as much as possible to our community that need. And if we fail that time because of our history has not been great, we then go back on, looking at that following May. The 30% cap is truly, I don't know another word to use other than devastating to a lot of school districts, including Westlake. I'm not sure that this is how it will wash out in the end. I'm not sure that the Senate won't raise that cap or remove it, or the governor will line item veto it. I don't know, but I can only pass along the information, the best information we have right now, and that is that House proposal of 30%. And if that would play out as is, I would make those recommendations to be on the ballot quickly, because it will be dropping off revenue-wise a cliff your first year. And then even when we go onto other topics of how it affects our homeowners, yes, it would be a refund to our homeowners for property taxes for 1 year, but it creates the roller coaster effect, because you're going to have your taxes up here, they drop down, and they go right back up. Okay. And we're going to be on the ballot quicker now because of it. And so it creates a number of challenges of a system that was intended with House Bill 920 to stabilize property taxes. And it's not doing what it was really intended. We're not letting it be implemented the way it was intended by putting in a cap like this. So I'm open to taking questions. I know Dr. Goggin and I have spoken extensively about this. We're happy to talk about this, but I think it would be better as a conversation than just putting up a spreadsheet for you.
And your suggestion potentially going in November, the potential levy issue would be what?
What millage?
Yes.
That's a great question. And I've run different numbers. I'm, with all due respect to the board, I'm unwilling to put a number at this time.
Sure.
Part of it is we're going to have to see how it's implemented, because the strategy that will have to be put into play is you can't go too high.
Yeah.
Because if you go over your 30% reserves, then you defeat the purpose of this, and you'd have to have your taxes adjusted again. So, I've looked at, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in that millage to see how it would play out. You can't go too much higher or you'd be in those reserves, but we really need to see how this plays out exactly before I can give you a solid number.
But potentially being ready to hit the ground running, say July 1st.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up.
For filing.
So let's talk about how this process, again, going back to the state is required by law to have a budget in place by June 30th. Now, they've come up with temporary ones before, and they've done some different things in the past, but by law, they're required to have a budget in order to operate by June 30th. So they're on a July 1st fiscal year, just like we are. Now, if we were to be on the ballot in November, I believe it's going to be 2 resolutions passed by roughly the 5th of August. We'd have to look at what the election day is, the date in November, but it's 90 days before that. So that's going to be roughly the first week of August, and we have to have 2 board resolutions by that time.
And mechanically, you'd say that's pretty easy for us to do.
Not easy, but doable. Because one resolution is very easy for us. We work with our attorney, it's done. The second one, though, our first one then has to be certified by the county. Okay, the numbers have to be certified by the county before the board can vote on it again. So you can't do 2 of them a day apart.
Right.
But with that 4 to 5 weeks, it's doable.
So we'd really need one resolution in June and then another one in July.
No, you could do two in July.
Oh, you-
Yeah, and I would, it's certainly possible to do one in June if the law is already passed and we know what the number is.
Okay,
If we don't know what the number is, I would not rush to have a resolution until we know what the law is passed and what that cap could potentially be.
so the thing that concerns me, and I agree with everything you're saying about putting it on it this November, but every conference I've ever attended about passing levies tells you that a year ahead you should be planning. So this doesn't give us much time to form a levy committee, and certainly we don't have a chairman or a treasurer, I don't think. Do we? We don't even have a lot of funds because we've only had one Westlake, Taste of Westlake.
We'd have to act.
We'd have to pull it together, but I think, you know, I think being prepared is the right thing to be, but the other thing, I guess a part of me is this makes so little sense
Yeah.
that it's really difficult for me to wrap my head around that it's actually going to land as it is. I mean, that's where my hope and optimism is, because in just listening, I just sat back and listened to Todd speak, and and it leads to a question. So, Todd, if let's just say they said, boy, you know what, we didn't realize this, and we're going to remove this cap idea and we're going to move on. How long do you see us being able to, and I know you hate this question, but would we be looking at least 3 years from now, potentially 4 years? How long until we would need to be on the ballot?
And that's a great question. And some of that's going to be set on what the board's appetite is for when you're looking at going to the ballot and what you want our reserves to be. But right now, as we finish this year or last year, we go back to last year and we had $33 million cash balance, give or take. We show a 5-year forecast that we're showing a negative in year 5. We know, again, I try to be transparent. I'm typically very conservative on my numbers, and I foresee pushing that off several more years. So with monitoring of our expenditures, okay, and then using our cash reserves to extend how far we're off the ballot, I could see easily being another 3 years without being on the ballot, and then really looking at if we wanted to push it farther than that.
So reasonably 3 years, potentially 4, and potentially more than 3 years. And that's the answer I thought I was going to get, because we've had this conversation. And that's the part that doesn't make sense to me is I don't think there'd be very few people who would argue against property tax relief. I think most people would say, listen, I get it. Property taxes, the valuations went up. I'm paying more. I don't like it. Those type of reasons there. But, is this genuinely property tax relief? When I listened to what you were saying in the beginning of this conversation, and you said the taxes would go down for a year, which would then remove that 15 million from our account, and then would go back up to the general level. And in the same year, we could be looking to ask for a 4 to 6 mil levy. So that would be on top of it. That's in 1 year. So in essence, it sounds like we would hand you a check and then ask you for a check back. That's more than the check we gave you. But in the current model, we can stay off the ballot for at least another 3 years. That's why I'm saying it just doesn't make sense.
And I think most people would, on the one hand, they would appreciate getting tax relief, but I don't think most people would agree that taking it away from the schools is the best thing to do.
something floating around in my head, I'm looking at 50% of our savings and investments are in essence hypothetically going away. That's what we're talking about, right? So in my head, I think back to 2008. I think of 2008 when corporations, families, foundations saw investment loss of 50%. And it's a game changer. You can't continue to do what you've always been doing because your savings, your investments have suddenly gone away by 50%. So something has to change. Corporations, foundations, you may still have some revenues coming in, but you've just seen 50% of your hard-earned savings just go away. So something has to change. When I think about the idea of I don't know what's going to happen on July 1st, but potentially talking about worst case, I think it always makes sense to talk about worst case scenario. Every good corporation, good foundation, good family situation looks at worst case scenario and says, how am I going to prepare best? And that's why in my head, it's, should we go on in November? Our success rate is relatively low. Does that, with a potential failure situation, does that say, hey, at least we believed we knew what was going to happen. It did happen. We wanted to act very quickly, which I believe we should. And if it fails, then potentially we're going to have to make those tougher decisions, but then say in May. And I hear what you're saying about the timeline, but those are the things going on.
And I agree. I think it's something you have to be ready for.
Exactly.
But I don't,
Right.
but the kind of have the plan, be prepared,
Right.
but I think it's being ready for that July 1st or the end of June to be able to make that move.
And to think about too, as a board, it's July. What's going on in July? Can we potentially, if we really decide, hey, November is it, are we going to be able to pull that together as a board? I believe I can be here during the month of July for board meetings and to keep that active.
Could we get, have the proposal prepared before July so that we're not scrambling in July to,
I mean, we could, again, the first resolution is relatively straightforward and easy. I can run through financial simulations, so we had some numbers I could be prepared for, but it's the second resolution that takes a little bit of time because it has to get certified by the county.
and are we talking having a PI also?
Well, I think again, it's one of those that prior to this conversation, prior to this cap idea that has been put out there, we've been open in conversations and board meetings saying, hey, when we go to the ballot next, it would probably be worthwhile to couple it with a PI levy. PI or bond or however we wanted to structure that, but something that we could help fulfill those goals that Mr. House has laid out in the 5-year facilities plan, but also address some of the needed upgrades that throughout the district, both academic, co-curricular and extracurricular facilities. So it may be something that would be wise to do. But again, I think it's going to be what is our appetite as a district to put that out there, and what is our need then for what's the millage need, and then what would it look like for a PI one as well.
Mention that when I think of our constituency or when you think of that constituency, it's the spectrum, and it's been mentioned in this discussion. It doesn't really seem to make sense. Yet when I have the opportunity to speak to those on the spectrum that are very conservative, some super conservative, when I think about some of our very good, that we've always been open to all kinds of competition when it comes to education, some of those that are competing with us suggesting that, heck, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking some of that money back. It's going to allow me to pursue some of these other opportunities as well. And I hear that out there, and I'm sure you've heard that out there as well.
But
So there may be a higher chance than we think.
And I do think that it's just interesting where we were on a town hall with one of the members of the House, and the question was asked, Does this also extend to joint vocational schools? And the answer is no. So, you know, it is directly targeted at public schools. So if you have a private school that's receiving funding or vouchers or anything, whatever their carryover is fine. If you have joint vocational schools or other entities, it's not a concern. And so I think that's the part that's kind of maddening with it.
I think it's more than maddening. I think it's sickening and disgusting what they're doing. And all the emails that I shot off to people, I didn't get any responses. So there's that
Well, we
too.
did get I got an email today from Representative Sweeney. And I know that State Senator Nikki Antonio has obviously been vocally against this, so. And I had a conversation with Representative Sean Brenneman from the Parma area, and he's against it also. It's, yeah.
My question is kind of semantics. Have they given any idea on how they would actually structure it? I know I don't think they're going to give people a check
No, so.
versus being just a credit on their max. So, but would it be, you know, on their half year?
So my
Or spread over a
understanding,
year?
and that's a great question. Your second part of your question, I don't know. From what I've read, and my understanding of what I've read is that, the county budget commission, okay, when we pass our tax budget resolution and they set the rates for your property, taxes, okay? They would be required when you have an excess amount in the next, in the next tax year, they would be required to reduce the property taxes in the community by an amount equal to the carryover in excess of the cap. So for us, we're at 21 mils for residential. I'm looking at just residential property, not commercial. So if they say, okay, you have 15 mils, I'm sorry, $15 million or $16 million that was in excess of the 30%. We're roughly $2 million per mill right now, so that would be about 8 mils. So instead of assessing everyone 21 mils, okay, they would drop that down to, would that be 13 mils? They would drop it down to 13 mils, and then for the following year, you would only pay 13 mils, which, by the way, is far less than the state mandated minimum floor of 20 mils, but that's a whole nother discussion some other time. But so I believe it would probably happen over the full year, but that's just a guess. And it would be implemented not through a refund check, but by reduction of next year's taxes through the county budget commission.
And the 20 mil issue will more likely be a part of the bill passed before the end of.
Yeah, so the bill even the House version says that, for this reduction piece, the 20 mil floor doesn't, they put a caveat in there to understand. To waive the 20 mil floor.
Oh, to waive it.
To waive it for when you're giving this, credit back to the on the tax bill.
So potentially coming up with iterations ready to see the first week of July is reasonable.
I mean, we're gonna know more,
I think
as we work through this. The example Dr. Goggin and I were speaking about is, what if the Senate came out and said, okay, you know what, we're gonna be at a 60%, cap. Well, we're sitting around 55 right now. That's not going to, impact us. And so there's not going to be the urgency to do it in November. If they do a 50% cap, we lose some, but we won't have that urgency. Right now, the urgency is driven by that 30% number because we can only carry over 30% under this proposal. So we'll know more as the Senate version comes out, and then as they go into conference committee, and then ultimately what goes in front of the governor. Additionally, the governor can line item veto. And so
if it passes, isn't there a certain vote level?
Well, but then the chambers can override his veto with 2/3 majority, which they have a majority. You don't, so they have a supermajority. You don't know if they'll vote that way.
Yeah.
To override a veto, but they could then turn around and override his veto. But I think for us it's keeping up the communication with our legislators, specifically the senators right now. Ultimately, driving conversations with the governor in case it would get to that point. It's one of those that I don't want to induce panic, but we need to have these conversations because it will drop us off a cliff very quickly.
So I even think about, there's, it's hard, you have these rural districts that have smaller budgets that are carrying over 100%, and they have to.
Correct.
And then, you have these larger districts, like we're seeing some districts in Columbus that are larger that'll lose over $100 million inside this. So
And let's talk about that as well,
go
though.
ahead.
There are other districts that will get zero back. There are districts around us who pay more in their millage than residents here in Westlake and will get nothing back. Okay, so when they talk about it as property tax relief across the state, it's not. There's a number of districts who just, their balances are below, they're struggling right now, their balances are below 30%. Oh, no relief. But for other ones across the state, they're targeting, with this type of relief. So yes, it will impact different districts differently, whether it's huge money back, little money back. And going to the point of Dr. Goggin with the smaller districts and stuff, we're very fortunate. We're fairly diversified in this district where, we're about $2.1 billion of assessed valuation. 1.6 of it is residential. And then you have, I think, 50 million, 60 million of public utilities, and then the rest is commercial. There are communities that are dependent on one or two single taxpayers, okay? Because a large commercial corporate entity or factory, if they don't have those reserves and that factory shuts down, okay, what are you gonna do? Does the state want to see districts going into financial emergency, fiscal emergency? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
but then that's the state money on the line. Because that's the piece of this.
They want to
The
eliminate
state-
public education. Every public school is going to be affected.
Well, and that would be unfortunate, but under current law, under the current constitution of the state of Ohio, that school district still operates and the state has to fund it. And, state receivership is not good for anyone. And the worst to receive it are the students. So, it's one of those that I don't understand what the thought process is here.
Other thoughts? Want to continue?
So yeah, I can go through the other recommendations real quick, and then we'll split them up if that's okay with you. On B, I have permanent appropriations. Just again, as we get to the end of the year here, we're just moving money around. So you'll see some April changes that we made. C, we have just a couple of then and nows that are listed there. D, I have a resolution for dredging services for the Dover campus retention basins in the back.
And those
So-
are things that we had the opportunity in finance to talk about, so if there are questions about that, and I'll say the word.
Yeah, so this is, you have your two, I think it's two technically, retention basins in the back. They're connected, but part of it is, they should have a little more separation in them. You've got a lot of organic materials that have grown in there, or leaves that go in there. So the pond is not as deep as it should be. So this is a company, Gradeworks, coming in. Mr. House did a nice job reaching out to several companies, trying to find companies who would do this. The best and most efficient pricing came in with Gradeworks. We have some experience with Gradeworks. They did a retention basin in the neighborhood just over to the west of us, the southwest of us. And we believe they can come in, dredge the ponds. They will be burying the dredged material on site. So right next to the detention basins or retention basins, you have an old softball field that, as far as I've been told, has not been used in many years, and has been grown over now. It's just really just a backstop now.
I believe that the seventh and eighth grade softball teams play up at the high school, if I'm not mistaken.
They do. And so the back area right along in the outfield of that softball field, along the detention basin, they'll dig a ditch, and then the organic material will be buried in there so it can dewater, decompose underground, and help limit the impact to our property and the neighbors.
How will it affect the football field back there?
Shouldn't be any effects of the football.
We try to bring all the equipment off through the softball field just because it's not used. After that, I have E is a resolution authorizing Centegix. We've talked about this before. I believe we even had a board resolution. This is an additional piece regarding some payment terms. This is the emergency clickers. So we would like to just have that approved so we can get moving with that and have that in place for next school year. And then the last one I have on there is our service contract with Connect. It's a 3-year agreement that we're recommending. Connect is our instructional technology center. They host our student information system, our financial software, library services. They do a lot of technology software hosting for us. Those are my 6 resolutions. If it so pleases the board, I would ask that the 5-year forecast is done separate. So it would be 6A. And then I believe that if it's acceptable to the board, we can combine 6B through F.
I move to approve treasurer's recommendation 6A, the resolution to approve the 5-year forecast.
Second.
Discussion.
Pure disappointment in the state legislature.
Further discussion? Roll call?
Correct?
Yes.
Lizinski?
Yes.
Fanukin?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to approve treasurer's recommendations 6B through 6E?
F.
Yep.
Through 6F?
So
Did
moved.
we? I apologize, 6F.
6A through 6F, so moved.
Did we get a second?
Oh, second.
Thank you. Discussion.
What's the over under on the number of sports paraphernalia we'll find dredged up? I'm thinking footballs, soccer balls.
Some desks.
Legitimate question. How many bikes do we think we're gonna find in there?
Oh, yeah.
Further discussion? Roll call?
Lizinski?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Fanukin?
Yes.
Kraft?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Moving on to
Thank
the,
you, Mr. Hopkins. Appreciate your report.
moving on to the superintendent's recommendations.
Thank you. 7A is resolution to accept gifts and donations. We'll read each of those. Bruce Spossett has donated $750 to the Megan Spossett Memorial Scholarship Fund at Westlake High School. Kim Tucker donated 72 handcrafted homemade cookies, value of $75 to the Senior Citizens Appreciation. The W Shop donated raffle basket items valued at $60, and Westlake Educational Foundation donated $5,000 to West Side Connections at Westlake High School. Letter B, so 7B is something I think we all wait for, is to actually receive and be in a position to approve our graduating class. So in 7B, on the attachment there, you will see the graduating class of 2025 that we will request approval on. How do you feel about that?
I don't know.
Letters C and D are memorandums of understanding with WTA. One is in regard to the reduction to 32 years. You heard Tracy Sadowski mention that this afternoon on how they made that adjustment, and we did some work with WTA to amend our incentive plan for retirement. And then the second one is a resolution with WTA to adjust the number of planning minutes specifically at the high school in order to fit the new schedule that's being written. Long story short, previously, even as this year, The high school has what they call skinnies, and they're shortened classes in order to accommodate for multiple lunches. They don't need that anymore, and so those shortened periods are not necessary. So they're going to get rid of those and have full period. Each period will be a full period, but that does impact how Rob can provide planning time. Now, the way it works, the minutes are the minutes, right? So he'll, even though he would reduce planning time by increasing the lunch, it'll balance out. So you're going to see a reduction in planning time, but they'll see an increase in the amount of time they have for lunch, being the teacher. So works out, filled out an MOU in order to resolve that. When you look at letters E through N, these are all different staffing employment type of issues, from continuing contracts, limited contracts, salary increases for licensed staff members, licensed substitutes, summer programs, Camp Link, some salary adjustments for people who've completed educational steps. ESY, which is our extended school year program. We are looking to employ some employees during that time as well. So that's what we have through letter N. Letter O is also really employment, but it's a contract for a purchase service for ESY as well, in order to provide occupational therapy services. Instead of hiring the person, we're going to bring them on as a purchase service. And then resolution for overnight field trip, which there it is. So this is for boys soccer team for Mercyhurst University, and also girls soccer at Tiffin University. And then finally are approving stipends for our upcoming Washington DC trip for our 8th graders. When it comes to approving these, I probably would say do some of them individual, like 7A, we always accept on its own. 7B for sure with the graduating class. I don't see an issue with, I don't think I have to do the MOUs on their own. I didn't think so. Unless you have a concern and want them pulled out, we can do C through Q.
Anyone not okay with that? Okay. Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation 7A?
So move.
Second,
Discussion?
thank you to everybody that so generously donates.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Further discussion? Roll call?
Fanukin,
Yes.
Lizinski,
Yes,
Kraft.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation 7B?
Begrudgingly, yes.
Second. Discussion.
I'm telling Brad.
It's a great class. Obviously my daughter's graduating,
Yeah.
and we're so very fortunate to have so many kids coming out of Westlake High School that we can all be so very proud of, and I can't wait to see what they all do next.
Mhm.
So
And it's gonna be a blessing to you to be able to give her diploma.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
It's a thrill.
Somebody might have to help me. I might lose it. So it hasn't hit me yet, but when I start to think about it, I'm like, oh.
Push out of the way.
Yeah. Do
That does happen. It does happen.
It does happen.
I gotta say, you know what, I was able to do that with both my kids.
Yes.
It's really cool.
And I had 4 grandchildren that I was fortunate enough to give their diplomas to, and don't be afraid to hug her. No handshaking with your daughter, you hug her.
I hug my boys.
Yeah,
I just can't believe 12 years have passed.
I know. You blink and they're grown up.
Yep.
Further discussion. Roll call.
Just to clarify, Mr. Kraft, you seconded?
Yes.
Thank you.
Got lost in the
I did.
discussion.
Lamb,
Yes.
Kraft.
Yes.
Fanukin,
Yes.
Lizinski.
Yes,
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to approve superintendent's recommendation 7C through 7Q?
so moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Lizinski,
Yes,
Fanukin,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
motion carries.
At this time, we have a second hearing of the public. The public may address the board during periods of the meeting designated for public participation. We, the Board of Education, do not engage in public debate and especially do not have a public discussion about an individual student situation in the setting. Each person addressing the board shall give their name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person is allotted 3 minutes until the total time allotted is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of board president voting. Anyone wish to address the board at this time? We can move on to board comments.
I would like to thank Mr. Wilson for setting up our field trip to Tri-C. I was really impressed with their facilities. I'd never seen it before, and it was a great day. Thank you very much. And I also want to tell you that we picked 4 recipients for the Board of Education scholarships, so we'll be giving 4 $1,000 scholarships. But I can't give you their names because the award ceremony is this Thursday.
Great.
So next board meeting, I will tell you who
Thank
we
you.
gave our
Thank you.
scholarships
You'll
to.
be handing out the award? Thank you.
Yes, last time.
Awesome.
Last time I'll be handing them out, so next year somebody's got to take over for
All right.
scholarship.
Hey, Todd, how many people are watching?
I'd have to look. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But-
Say nobody's watching. All
Yeah,
right.
correct.
Okay.
Do you want
Keep it a
to,
secret.
do you want to assign that to someone on the board?
No, I want somebody who wants to do it to do it. It's truly eye-opening to read the accomplishments of, the applicants, what they've accomplished in their short years and how truly talented they are, and then and the stories of those that are in need too. So
And
I've enjoyed doing
the
it.
accomplishments, I would say, are not always necessarily academic.
Right.
Some of these people have really overcome a variety of different challenges.
And our recommendations, I mean, we don't go strictly on academics, and that might be because just because I've been doing this since 2012, and the PTAs, I know they have a protocol and they're more academic, but we've looked, and John has helped me read them over the years. We look at a lot of factors: need, family situation, and so I'm not looking for a 3.9 or a 4.2 student. There does have to be some academic achievement. But school involvement and just the different factors. So I've enjoyed doing it.
Thank you.
Same.
I've had the good fortune to join past Rotary President, Mr. Maver, and Attorney Maver in reviewing such applications.
Not
for-
one of the same.
Reading those applications for Rotary, and you're right, we have some extraordinary students, and it's fun to learn a little bit more about them and to give something more to them. And I also enjoyed the tour over at Cuyahoga Community College, and I always knew it was an amazing partner in an institution, but wasn't aware of some of the national accolades right here in Westlake, and many of our graduates are taking advantage of that, as well as some of our current students that have taken advantage of that. Other board comments.
I was just amazed, Mr. President, at your skills to help revive the demonstration dummy at the Tri-C facility. It was great to see you jump in there and help revive them.
Right now.
I got pictures too.
Super.
Can you elaborate on it?
We saw the medical facility, or was it nursing teaching area, and there was a full, I don't use the word dummy, it was like a
full cadaver.
yeah,
But
out of plastic, and
Simulated.
our board president jumped right in there and got to work.
Gotta do.
Showing the CPR skills he has.
He did.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So to throw out a little ad for them, which I didn't know they offered a bachelor's in, they call it smart manufacturing, so they offer a bachelor's in that. And they are adding a bachelor's of science in nursing. Their facilities were fantastic. And especially when, because I can remember when I was at Ohio State and my roommate was in nursing, and she had a cadaver that she worked on, because we used to sneak into the room there wherever they worked on them.
To do what?
I could have a prison for unlawful entrance, but somehow we always got in because she wanted to show me this cadaver. And now I was amazed. I would love to see this table. It was under some kind of maintenance that you don't even need a cadaver anymore. They have this table that just takes the place of it. And I don't know how he described it. You've got all these slides and
Press different buttons.
Yeah.
It shows you like you press the nervous system. It takes away everything and just shows the nervous system. Then it might show hormones and it shows all the different things. It's really.
Yeah.
I
Holographic?
told Mr. Woods was like, I want one of these.
I mean, really, and I think we should, talk about it more to our students. And, I mean, the facility was beautiful. And they were very, hospitable to us there. So, and also, we have the Memorial Day Parade is coming Monday. And,
Yes.
it's hard to believe, isn't it? Memorial Day. Parade?
It's Earth.
So I'm getting my little red convertible out of storage. And I talked to Mr. Woods. He's going to see if the Demon wants to be in the parade. So we will be either driving the Demon or driving alone. I still have candy left over and there's quite a bit. I didn't take a full inventory. I looked at it. So we don't need gobs.
Of course, the marching band will be there as well.
The marching band, that's always exciting
Yeah.
too. Yeah, so I can email you later what candy we have left, but I don't think we need to buy a lot.
We always run out of candy.
What?
Yeah.
I thought we had like a ton. Do we still need to get more, you think?
Um,
I mean, it's fine.
we've got, I don't know if we're conservative with what we throw out or if we're gonna,
Which we never are.
no.
No.
If you each just got a bag on your own and then with what we have combined, my husband will be glad to get it out of our basement,
And
so.
who does not know where and when to be? Everyone knows?
9:30 in front of the church on
St. Peter,
Hill,
St. Joe.
St. Peter and St.
Right.
Are we going to follow or lead the
Follow walking.
the band?
Oh.
Yes, they usually
Can't
put us,
actually-
we
Yeah.
usually go behind the band,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yes,
And Officer Green will be there to direct us as.
okay.
And we'll have one car, but the rest, everyone else walking.
Correct. Right.
Now, if it rains,
I'll be in the car with Brian.
Pulling a line
With
about
it's not supposed to
It's gonna be
rain, but if
It's gonna
it rains,
sunny
I
and
don't think I'll be there.
John, does that mean you'll just?
Sunny and
78.
I'm more than happy to.
to what?
With the roof off.
We also, along the lines of our outstanding students, we had the opportunity to attend the West Shore Career Technical District passport ceremony last week, which was outstanding, seeing some of our additional outstanding students just going out and doing some just amazing things, already employed. Some going off to college, some going into military, but it's amazing what is going on over at West Shore. Just because those that gave us some information about it and also presented to us, don't forget about the Dover campus. I should say the DIS grounds work proposal that was shared with us not so long ago. Any other thoughts on that?
On that proposal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have communicated with Mr. Miller. I spoke with Todd about it, and one of the things we want to confirm with the Patty Group is that the document we would receive is actually actionable.
Right.
And so for example, if from what I heard from the teachers, they wanted a design so then they can approach businesses and say, would you like to sponsor the deck or sponsor this area or that area? And are they able to say, okay, well, how much is it? And it's like, well, I don't know. Well, how long is it? I don't know. You know, and so is it going to actually do what we think it's going to do? And I did talk to Mr. Miller about that and asked him to discuss that with the two teachers.
And that of course brings up design and who should really do that design and is the board willing to commit to a design and then the next steps would occur afterwards. But any other thoughts on that?
I think anytime we can improve the look and feel and interaction of the facilities, especially for the students to be able to, and the teachers to be able to utilize it. So it's always a good thing.
The additional ask from a group of Westlake citizens has been the Veterans Memorial. And just conversations with those that are involved in the Veterans Memorial still is really uncertain to me, and I believe I can say to us. What is the real plan? What is the real plan? Are you really asking the school district to give a chunk of property to such a plan? And I believe that if we want to do something like that, we really need to see something that's concrete, a plan. How's it going to be funded? What is it going to look like? Any thoughts on that? You agree with
One
that?
thing I
Yeah.
can mention,
Yeah.
I do, and so Katie Eason, my assistant,
Yeah.
reached out to the group
Super.
and had said, we'd like to schedule a meeting, and as we spoke with me, Todd, and maybe a board member or two to be able to have a conversation about that, and that hasn't been returned yet.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Have they had discussions? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Have they had discussions with the city?
I believe they have had discussions with the city, and I think the city was, and again, I may be speaking out of turn, but just from what I remember is I thought that the conversation was potentially at Clegg Park where this Memorial Day parade ends.
Makes the most sense.
Yeah, but then there was concerns from the group about parking and accessibility and that sort of thing, so.
Are we allowed to voice an opinion here?
Course.
Okay,
Yeah.
so at first, when I was approached, because I was on that original
Yes.
meeting for this veterans group, and at first, when they mentioned it, I thought, oh, that would be pretty cool because it'd be central, the kids could visit it. But every time I go past Bernison and when they're dismissing, there's throngs of kids now, and they just, that's the way they come across. There's the soccer, you have the net set up, and sometimes I see kids practicing soccer there. And then I do see people walking their dogs, and then there's kids in the back playground. And the more I think about it, the more I don't, and this is my own opinion, I don't really want to give up a chunk of property that would be dedicated to something that would be permanent like that, because in the future, we don't know what our needs are or will be 20, 25 years down the road. And that was the whole idea for keeping the other schools. And we talked about maybe the possibility of putting a new Board of Ed building there at that location. So my personal feeling has changed now to where I really don't want to give up that property, but.
And you have the meetings.
Yeah.
We'll have the meetings and have the conversations. It may move from there to somewhere else, or we may determine that it isn't the right spot, one of our pieces of property, but I think it's that, as Joe and I talked about it, it's like, well, let's sit down instead of being here, because one question was, do we do a work session? Well, are we really going to be able to hammer it out there, or should we have a smaller group, more private, and kind of go through that and hear what they have to say instead of having to do that?
Is the group that's coordinating it, are they looking for the schools to kind of take ownership of it? Or are they just, we'd love to make sure that whatever it is, it ties in with, our awareness of veterans and celebration of them we do at the school.
It's somewhat uncertain, and that's where I think if we have these meetings, we'll really get to the bottom of why would it be here as opposed to say Play Park, where there's.
Or even the old board office. I mean, they've been talking about tearing it down for years.
Right,
I'm sure it's got enough holes in it that there's no more
understood,
walls to shoot up.
right,
So
understood.
A lot of mold.
In the spirit of our 2 award recipients tonight, Best Buddies is going to be at an event hosted by Connecting for Kids, which is a top golf event, but roughly, I believe it's 12 of our best buddies are getting together, and participate in this fundraiser for Connecting for Kids on Thursday night, and just wanted the board to be aware of that. Any other discussion? There's nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
To adjourn at 7:41 PM. Fanukin,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Kraft,
Yes.
Lizinski,
Yes.
motion carries.
What do you have for breakfast tomorrow?